Sydney, please come up for me. This is my sister Sydney, everybody. All right. So today, I just want to talk to you a little bit before you get into the business. I want to talk about a little bit of health and fitness. So there's a lot of misconceptions about what you can and can't do with your body, blah, blah, blah. It's all individual, it's all relative. What I want to talk to you about today is multi-joint movements. Now, what that means is basically not just one part of your body moving, but all of them moving at the same time. So my sister Sydney is going to demonstrate some of the traditional movements versus multi-joint movements. So, Sydney, what I want you to do is demonstrate a regular squat for me. Okay? So you're going to come down just like that and come up. So that's just a regular squat, okay? Now, what you can do with a multi-joint movement is burn more calories and also expend more energy in a shorter period of time. So what that does is basically shorten your workouts. So what I'm going to do here, I want you to do regular squats for me, turn to the side, and I'm going to do some multi-joint movement squats, okay? So here you go. Go ahead and start squatting. All right, good. Going up and down. There you go. All right, so now this is called squat to press. This is a non-traditional squat. So what I would do is use dumbbells or a barbell. Bam. So you can also do multi-joint movements with lunges as well. Same thing, shoulder raises. So what this does here, again, you're burning more calories in less time. You don't necessarily have to up the tempo of your workouts. And I know a lot of times when you're going through a period of transition into working out, you don't have the endurance and you don't have the strength or whatever. So you can work your way up. But what this does is allows you to what it does is it allows you to use more energy in less time within your reason. So with that being said, this is one of the ways that you can make your workouts more effective. Sydney, one more thing. So now we're going to show you some upper body movements. So what I want you to do is show a traditional push-up, okay? So just going down and up. There you go. Nice. Okay. Now I want you to show the modified version from the knees, okay? So going down and up, okay? So that's a traditional push-up. So now you can modify this and make it more effective by doing something called a T-twist at the top, okay? So I'm gonna do a normal push-up, and I want you to do a regular push-up from the knees. Here we go. All right, so you come down and twist up. Bam. And up. So there you can burn more calories. So simply put, in order, and Sydney, you can stop there. She's gonna get her workout in early this morning. All right, but what you can do here is just basically make your workout more fun also, but again, burning more calories, and that's the key to making your workout effective. My point here, I'm sorry, trying to catch it. Okay, so here's where I was going with this. When you're working out and you're thinking about what it is that you need to do relatively to you. It's all about basically catering to your fitness level. So if you know you can't go into the gym and do 1,000,000 push-ups at once or get on a treadmill for an hour and run, which is also probably one of the least effective cardio methods, but then you want to think about what you can do. So functional movement is the basis of multi-joint workouts. So functional movement is literally just stepping, pumping the arms, things of that nature. Anything that you would do that doesn't look mechanical, such as a regular curl or something like that, or a regular squat. So all in all, if you want more information about this, you can contact me, and I'll leave my information. And also, Sydney is my sister, of course, and she's a personal trainer as well. So you can contact either one of us, okay? We'll have information for you afterwards. Thank you, and I hope you all have a great conference this year, and have a good one.
Thank you, Trenton. Let's give Trenton another round of applause. So he's got a personal session going on. And the mayor said we got to be about getting in order at WICERS, so I'm not going to bother that. I think he's getting signed up. Hey. Get fit, get fine. Let's do it. Sorry. So it's my pleasure this morning to introduce the First Lady of our city, the very lovely Miss Sarah Elizabeth Reed. And our first baby is back there as well, Miss Maria. So for those of you who may or may not know, when Mayor Reed got elected to office, he was single. And much to Jan's dismay, he was single. And but he was dating a very lovely young lady and subsequently married her and subsequently had a beautiful little girl. And Sarah, I will tell you, and I'm sure it's tough being married to the mayor and all that goes on there, but he is happier and he is better because of you and Maria. And so we thank you. So I'll have you come on up.
Thank you. It's fun being married to Kasim. People always talk about how tough he is, and we always see the relaxed and calm side. So me and Maria are very lucky and very blessed. Good morning, first and foremost. Give me some energy after our good fitness. Right, good morning, right. Well, as Daphne, thank you so much. On behalf of the entire city of Atlanta and my husband, Mayor Kasim Reed, I welcome you all, and I'm excited to be here today. I personally worked in the affordable housing industry for almost over 10 years now, working for a developer who built low-income senior housing with tax credits. So I personally know and appreciate the importance of lifting up and supporting and encouraging women in traditionally male-dominated fields. I was looking at the agenda, I think from last year. It had a session that said, how chicks rule. And this made me think, this should be the general theme of the conference, that chicks are ruling, and women are ruling, and can rule even more in these industries. The city of Atlanta is doing all that we can do to make sure that our young people are exposed early to STEM fields, science, technology, engineering, math. We started a STEM program recently at one of the city centers of hope to make sure our young people, and especially our girls, are being exposed to these fields early on. So I'm thankful to Jan and the entire WICERS team. I'm excited to be here, and the city of Atlanta is excited to work with WICERS to make sure that this conference grows and grows and grows every year. So thank you so much for having me. Let's have a great day. Thank you.
Hold on. Don't leave. So I'll let you hold that.
Thank you so.
This says, this sculptural rendering of an Atlanta dogwood was designed by Hans Gatto Fabrel and chosen especially for Sarah Elizabeth Reed, First Lady, City of Atlanta, in appreciation for her support of WICERS 2016 conference. Thank you so much.
That's beautiful.
Get a photo. Thank you so much, Sarah. So why WICERS? WICERS 2016. For those of you that weren't here last year was our first year, and this came out of a idea, kind of a brainchild that Jan and I had. And you know, we work in these industries, and we know that there are not a lot of women, and you know, but that's in everything for the most part. So we put this conference together. Last year was awesome. Absolutely awesome. And so we went back to the drawing board and looked at what could we do better? What did people love that we could do again? And what would make this just a fun day and a half? Okay, you all have taken your time out of your jobs, your families, or whatever, to come and spend some time with us. So one, we want to give you some good education. We want to introduce you to some people that may help you one way or another in your life. And we also want you just to have a good time. So you'll see me running around the next day and a half, and I'm not going to say anything technical because I don't know anything technical. But I'm going to say, are you having a good time? And so I hope your answer is going to be yes. And if it's not, I want you to tell me what we can do to make it more fun, okay? So what I'd like to do, is Diamond? Yeah. I'd like to do, we have a video presentation that'll give you a sense of kind of who we are, what we are, why we're here, and what we want you all to get out of this next and a half. So here we go.
Hundreds of women attended the inaugural WICERS conference. The support from community leaders was strong. The excitement of women looking to grow or enter the industry was unquestionable, but it was the unspoken magic of the conference which best describes the birth of a movement.
WICERS 2018, I must say, exceeded my and our expectations. It was unbelievable. And I gotta be honest, when I think about it, I become emotional almost with the pride. The thought that we were bringing women together.
WICERS!
It was unique, it was warm, it was loving, it was energetic, it was passion. It was a lot of really neat things kind of all rolled up into one. It was incredible. I mean, it kind of blew us away.
To have people say, oh my gosh, that conference changed my life. I started my business because of that conference. It was amazing.
From attendees to those who really helped plan the conference, there's no question lives changed forever.
I myself am a product of WICERS. Like, I was going through a transition in my life and I really wanted to do so many things, and these women really empowered me. And since then, they have continued to empower me. And they really do believe, even though when I don't believe, they believe.
That's the very purpose of WICERS, creating a platform for women in construction, engineering, and related services where they can dream big, be bold, and make it happen. It's a platform women like Stephanie Spee says would have inspired her to delve even deeper into her career as a chemical engineer.
I have a lot of friends who are also engineers. The challenge is they have degrees in engineering, but they're not necessarily practicing engineering any longer. And it's because of the experiences they've had in industry and academia that have led them to pursue a different path that's more suitable to women and more suitable to minorities.
In fact, as Stephanie's own star continued to rise through accomplishment and study in her beloved field of chemical engineering, she noticed a dramatic drop in people who looked like her.
When you kind of continue to climb and go higher in engineering, the numbers get smaller and smaller. So being in a PhD program at Berkeley, I went from being, one of probably 3 or 4 at MIT to being one of 1, essentially at Berkeley. And again, the feeling of isolation was much stronger there because there wasn't as strong of a network.
It's an isolation experienced by women in science labs, on construction sites, and in boardrooms across the globe.
It's very common that you're in a meeting room and you're one of, the only or one of very few women around a table. And at some point you just get used to that. That's just kind of the way it is. But it's a shame that it is that way.
In Stephanie's case, that reality led the degreed and accomplished engineer to pursue her MBA at Emory University, where she decided to commit her life to stopping the loss of science, technology, engineering, and math, or STEM, by launching Math SP and most recently authoring her personal contribution to feeling the same isolation she once felt.
The STEM Gems book is my way to help to get more young women into STEM, to close that gender gap that exists in STEM, and to really propel them and show them the paths of 44 amazing women so that you can see yourself in more than one of these women.
Stephanie says part of interesting young girls is introducing them to women practicing both traditional and innovative applications of STEM, such as Tiania Barnes, an industrial engineer turned shoe designer.
I'm not using it in the traditional engineering sense, but I am using it in developing a shoe.
Though there are women that exist, if you're not seeing them, if it's not on television, if it's not in the media, then you don't even know it exists. And there are plenty of options in STEM that I didn't know existed when I was a young woman.
Engineering is about creating. It's about, having a foundation and building off of that.
Coming off the heels of its inaugural conference, the founders of WICERS welcome this concept of attracting all ages of women to male-dominated industries through these types of stories as an additional draw. It's why both women will present at WICERS 2016.
Women like Stephanie SB and Tiania Barnes can become that face for some of these young girls who are really trying to figure it out and see that there are a lot of avenues out there that are very non-traditional in a very traditional space. And I am excited about that.
Other exciting offerings during WICERS 2016 include this comprehensive interactive conference app, our first ever panel targeted toward millennials, and born through WICERS' ongoing partnership with the City of Atlanta's Women Entrepreneurship Initiative, the much talked about Shark Tank style pitch competition, where college students will compete for $5,000 awarded to seed their entrepreneurial dreams.
The Big Ideas Smart Solutions pitch competition is really what WICERS embodies. It's about creating opportunities for women to be innovators and problem solvers and use science and technology as their tools. And it's certainly timely because the City of Atlanta is focused on its smart city goals.
I believe that women are going to be an increasingly important part of our economy, and the City of Atlanta should be leading in this lane, and WICERS is essential to that leadership. That's why I'm so proud to support it.
WICERS 2016.
WICERS to me is a state of mind, it's a type of woman, it's an adjective. I am WICERS, I'm a woman who is proactive.
WICERS is a movement that we didn't even set out to do, but it has just happened. And I'm so excited about that. And so many people are going to benefit from all that collateral goodness. Let's not take this moment for granted. Let's not take each other for granted. Let's not take these opportunities for granted. I think the time is now, and WICERS is a movement. And so let's move. Let's go.
Welcome to WICERS 2016, where the time is now to embrace this year's theme to dream big, be bold, make it happen.
Now I'm going to ask you, if you want to dream big, I want you to stand up. If you want to be bold, raise your hand. And if you're going to make it happen, let's shout WICERS 2016! All right, thank you. You guys can sit down. So you saw we've got some new things this year that are super exciting. We launched a mobile app that you can get on your mobile device, which everyone has, and it'll give you the conference schedule and some other information about our speakers. We have a millennials panel. Some of the feedback we got was that for a little younger audience, they didn't necessarily connect because I think they thought we were kind of beyond where they are. So we've got a millennials panel later today. And we also have a pitch contest, kind of Shark Tank style. Very exciting. I sat through a practice the other day. These young women will absolutely blow you away. I had no idea what they were talking about. Their concepts were very advanced, really well thought out. And they've got $5,000 on the line. So they're going to present at lunch today. We'll have judging. You'll be able to judge on your app. And then we will announce the winner tomorrow at lunch. So that's exciting stuff, I think. What's coming back? All right. One of the most popular things that we had at WICERS last year was a presentation by a raging Cajun. There she is. And everybody talked about the funky pink glasses and just the awesome energy that you brought. So I want to bring up my dear friend, Jan Hargrave. And I'll tell you, she sold out of her books last year. So when you finish with this, if you want something, you better get it quick because it will sell out. Thank you, and welcome back.
I'm glad to be back. What a great video you did.
It's awesome.
I have a mic. I'm good.
Oh, good. You're right.
I can handle this.
Let's do it.
What a lot of work went into that video. Wasn't that video great, y'all? I loved it. I mean, it was really good. A good promotional tool, too. Well, I am so glad that they brought me back and they like my crazy pink glasses. I am here, and I'm Jan. I'm a body language expert, so I'm reading you right now. I'm looking to see who's lying, who's getting ready to tell a lie, who's getting ready to tell the truth. But I work in the courtroom. I pick juries. I teach people how to spot liars, how to spot truth tellers. But I'm bringing you that information today. I've been busy with CBS News and NBC News and ABC News doing the politician's body language. So maybe at the end of the time that I teach you some basics, I can do Donald Trump's body language for you, or Hillary Clinton's body language for you, or maybe Ted Cruz's body, or sweet Bernie Sanders. We can do. So I'll do that for you at the very end. But I want to teach you some basics about nonverbal. I was a college professor, taught this in college, did my graduate research in this, and have had a great time doing it. Think what advantage you would have if you could understand what someone else is thinking by simply looking at some of their body language. I want to give you some basic information before we start having some real fun with this. It is said in our research that 55% of a person's communication is nonverbal, 55%. So that is really why when you see someone that you decide, do I like them? Do I trust them? Do I want to have that conversation with them? 38% of a person's communication simply comes from voice inflection. Just as our voices go up or down, that keeps people interested in what we're saying. And then research says that only 7% of a person's actual face-to-face communication does come from the words that they say. I know you've heard that old saying, actions speak louder than words. We say an awful lot about ourselves from just every motion that we really do. I'm going to get you into here kind of gently. Many days I do sit in that courtroom and I watch people raise their right hand, and then I listen as they say, I promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. I have gone to where I watch the way they lift their hand, and I can tell you if they're going to tell us the truth or not. So just as an experiment on this Wednesday morning, could you raise your right hand? Let's just pretend. Let's pretend that we're in the courtroom getting ready to say, I promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Key thing is this, for 1 second, I need you to freeze your hand, because I will tell you a few things that I see. Some of you may not like sitting by some of the people you're sitting by when I tell you this, and some of you may not like hearing some of the things that you hear, but you must keep your hand frozen so that you can understand how you were feeling when I asked you to get out of your comfort zone. In the courtroom, we look for 5 things. Some of you are just this way. Notice how wide apart my fingers are and rigid my hand is. I will tell you what this says about your personality. Some of you have your hand up and your fingers are really tight together. I'm going to tell you what that says about you. I see some people bend their hand, and I'll mention that. I see a couple of people with 2 fingers together, 2 fingers apart. I am worried about you. And some people even lean the hand backwards. And I know it's pretty tough, but just keep it up one more second. I'll tell you what each one says. This is the very first. But notice how rigid and how wide apart the fingers are. When someone is in the courtroom this way, this indicates that they are terrified and they will tell us the whole truth. So if ever you need to go, go just this way. Second one is equally as good. My hand was up, but remember my fingers were tight together. This is a good one. It is labeled an analytical honesty. This person will tell us the truth, but we will have to pull it out of them. In the third one, I bent my hand. Do you know that anytime the hand is bent in the courtroom, it lets us know that this person will try to lie to us. So you may want to check on your neighbors right now. In the fourth one, I had 2 fingers together and 2 fingers apart. But think about what I initially said, because anytime fingers are wide apart, that's a readily type of honesty. And then when they are tight together, it's an analytical honesty. So this person would give us both types of responses. And then lastly, I bent my hand backwards this way. When someone bends the hand backwards in the courtroom, it says that they will try to bend over backwards to get us to believe them, but will be typically telling us a lie. Now you can put your hand down. You know what's probably the greatest thing about everything you learn and benefit from this today is that everything you learn you can use immediately in your own personal lives. So this evening when you return home and you see your spouse, you can always say, now honey, what have you been doing since I have been gone? And as your spouse responds, just say, can you finish telling me that, and put your right hand up and look to see if it's like this or is it this way. I have been doing this a long time, almost 18 years, and primarily began when I started researching it in college and then teaching it at my college. I now travel a lot, though, and my intent, and that's what I hope for you, is this, so that you can understand from today what kind of messages does your body send out when you first approach someone, and what are the underlying messages you can gather when you're watching someone talking with you, and that you can understand their body language. Whenever I do this, though, I have to tell you, I did do all of Bill Clinton's body language during his testimony, and Bill started this way, and I said, this is not going to be a very good day for old Bill. I live in Texas, so I did the body language of both of the Bushmen during all of their years, and I know that maybe you watch some of those debates. Don't you watch a little bit of that? And maybe you say to yourself, I hear what they're saying, but what is their body really saying? That is exactly what my job is. So it's how, every time they move a hand or an arm, everything you do with your body indicates something that you are feeling inside that is emotional to you. So I'm going to give you all of that information. And I want you to understand this about body language is this. Look, a body does not know how to tell a lie. It is a mouth that tells a lie. You find out while we're together that people move their hands a certain way when they tell you the truth, and people move their hands another way when they're being dishonest with you. I think it's quite an advantage that we all understand something about nonverbal. So to get you into this, that it's kind of fun, I'll share with you 5 or 6 common gestures that you see every day. And as I give you the gesture, just tell me if you think it's true, if you think it's false, and I'll do this for number 1. Let's say that you're having a conversation with a man and this man is listening to you. And as the guy listens, let's say he does this. He just slowly rubs the bottom of the chin this way. For question number 1, I simply want to ask, when a man does this and he is listening to you, this is a gesture that says that he is seriously contemplating what is being said. Would you think that that would be true? Would you think that that would be false? What do you think? Okay. I'm going to keep that one in. I want to give you 5 questions on your exam. I'll give you a very easy one for number 2. All of you will get this one correct. It goes this way. Men who constantly jingle the change in their pockets. When a man will constantly jingle the change in his pockets, it is a gesture that says that he is quite concerned about his financial situation. Do you think that that is true? Do you think that that is false? What do you think? Okay, I'm going to keep that one in. I want to try this for number 3, and 3 is a bit frightening, but I want to see how you think and feel about it. It goes this way. People who tend to use their left hand a lot tend to lie a lot. Would you think that that one is true? Would you think that that one is false? What do you think? Probably most everyone who said false is left-handed. Am I correct here? Where are my nice left-handed friends? Where are those that look how sweet? And they're all lifting their left hand. They look mighty honest to me, so I want to repeat that one the exact same way that I initially asked it. I did not say people who are left-handed. Simply asked and said people who tend to use the left hand a lot tend to lie a lot. I will keep that one in there because I think it's quite valuable that you understand that. I want to try this for number 4. I shared it with the audience last year, and they thought it was the craziest thing they'd ever heard, but I want to share it with you and tell me what you think about it. It's kind of a fun one. If you are watching a man and a woman in a casual conversation, and as that man and woman are speaking, the man would begin to pull up his socks. For question number 4, I just want to say this. When a man begins to pull up his socks during a casual conversation with a lady, it usually indicates that he would like to ask that lady out on a date. Do you think that that one's true? Do you think that that one's false? What do you think? So we have some true, some false. I'm going to keep that one in because it's a Wednesday night in Atlanta, Georgia. You may need that gesture. Let me show you this last one. I'll show you this one for number 5, and I'll make sure that I answer 1, 2, 3, and 4 while I'm speaking with you. But I think once I teach you number 5 and give the explanation of it, then the concept of people reading, because that's what we're studying while you're having me in front of you today, is how to read yourself and how to read others. I think once you see number 5, it begins to make sense. So watch how number 5 would go. Let's say that you're speaking, and I want you to watch my hands for a bit because I know when you're talking, I know that sometimes you're talking and I bet your hands go away from your body And I know that sometimes you're speaking and I bet your hands come back towards your body. Probably some of us have even said, if I could not use my hands, I could not even speak. I want to clarify that before I even ask question number 5. It is perfectly okay to move your hands when you're speaking, because watch what happens psychologically. Whenever you move your right hand, or for that matter, really anything that you would move on the right side of your body, your hand and your arm and your eye and your leg and your shoulder, any motion on this side of your body, that is all controlled from this side of our head. Our left brain, that's the analytical side. It is the numerical side. It is all of your history and science is here. Our timetables, in fact, are located here. If you are multiplying something inside your head and have trouble getting the numbers multiplied, you would end up moving your right hand. It would help clarify what you're thinking, and then finally you could speak those words. When you move your left hand or anything that is on this side of your body, of course, all of this motion, that's controlled from this side of our brain. Our right, this is the fun side. This is a comical side. This is a side that daydreams. If ever you drove somewhere and you cannot recall how you got there, of course you drove right brain. But I want you to understand why your hands move. Think why your hands move. Your hands move to help you get information that is stored inside this huge thing called a brain or called a computer outside of your mouth. If you had to speak to someone for 30 minutes and were not allowed to use your hands, let's say you had to talk and your arms and hands had to remain behind you the entire time that you're speaking, it becomes rather difficult to organize your thoughts and get them out in a logical fashion. It is the motion of your hands that pulls things from various sides of your head so that hopefully when we speak with people, we logically make sense. So watch how number 5 would go. Let's say that you notice you're talking and you see that your hands come out, maybe your hands come back towards you, and every now and then in your conversation you would spot yourself doing this. You would just notice that you would softly bring the tips of your fingers together at about chest level. Maybe you'd say something else, your hand comes out again, and then you notice it comes back together here. This is my question for number 5. When someone does this, this is a gesture that says that this person lacks confidence. Would you think that that would be true? Would you think that that would be false? You see people do this on television all the time. When someone does this, do you feel that they look confident to you, or do you feel that they look nervous? Tell me gut-wise how you feel about this one. What do you think? Confidence or nervousness? I will answer number 5, and I'll come back and catch 1, 2, 3, and 4. I will let this be the very first gesture I teach you today. This gesture in body language, it is called exactly what it looks like. Look, it's called a steeple. And do you know that steepling is one of the largest gestures of confidence that I could ever teach a group of people? Anytime you see a steeple gesture, it is associated with a level of confidence in that person. And I don't have to see a steeple done with all my fingertips together. I could watch someone just put the pointer fingers together, just softly drop the hands, but there is still a visible steeple gesture. I could watch someone just put the thumbs together again and drop the hands. There is a steeple gesture. I notice in meetings, sometimes people sit this way. Anytime you see this formation, it is a gesture that is associated with confidence in that person. And even this, let me show you how detailed this can be. It is said in our research that when someone is confident with what they are saying, their steeple gesture is at chest level. When someone is confident with what they are hearing, their steeple gesture is typically down in lap level. Isn't this a pretty good gesture to know, though? Let's say you have to do a talk in front of a group and you're a little bit nervous and you don't want them to think you're nervous. Just go like this. And they'll say, wow, what a confident person that is. Look how confident that person is. Do not stay like this the whole time. It looks like you're praying, so kind of bring your hands apart. And I want you to notice that it's really soft. I don't want you to force it. Look, it's really, really soft, because this is not good. This is not good. See how soft it is? And a lot of times the fingers will just overlap and then come here. It is a much stronger and more confident gesture than this. This was called the old fig leaf gesture. It would be wiser if someone just sat there and put their hands this way. And I'm sure that you notice when Donald Trump does it, he does it this way. It is a goalpost steeple. But whenever you see this kind of formation that someone is sending out, anytime you see something that looks like a steeple, it is associated with the level of confidence. I do work with a lot of politicians. It is rare that any national politician doesn't have a body language expert helping them. A lot of them do. But you can always spot when someone is insincere because, and the way to spot it is that their gesture does not appear at the appropriate time. They will say an entire sentence and then they'll think, oh, I forgot to do the steeple gesture. You see what's happening? So what's going to happen is that you'll be able to tell when it's not really their gesture because the gesture is not going to appear at the time. And I'm going to teach you really how to read that. I'll teach you signs of confidence if that's something that you really want to know today. I'll teach you how to spot a liar because we do it day after day in the courtroom if that's something that you're interested in. I'll teach you how to spot honesty, confidence, nervousness. I'll give you as much as I can in the time that we're together. Now, I'm going to give you something right now that's kind of detailed, but I know that you can grasp this knowledge. I want to show you how to understand every gesture that I'm going to teach because I'll give you probably 50, 60 gestures. And what I can also do is send you a handout on this. Would you like a little handout on that? Come on, here I am, a college teacher, didn't even bring you a handout. So then, that way you can just relax and just kind of watch me do it, and I'll send it through email. I'll send it maybe to you, Jan, and then we can get it to everybody here, because in that way you can enjoy this, but then you'll have it all in writing for you. So I want you to understand how we're gonna start reading this. When you see this from someone, you know that it stands for confidence. But when you are first studying body language, it's difficult to figure out, is that person confident with what I am saying, or are they confident with what they are thinking? So that's why I want to show you how to understand every gesture. So I'm going to just pretend, Jan, let me just pretend I'm having a conversation with you. And just put your hands in a little steeple. So I'm going to pretend that we're having a serious negotiation. I look down at Jan's hands, and oops, I notice that she's steepling. So I'm thinking to myself, I guess she feels pretty confident with what I'm saying. Probably she will go along with what I have just proposed. The wisest thing you need to understand when you're trying to analyze a gesture is that you have to try to quickly recall what types of gestures preceded the one that you're trying to analyze. And let me help you understand that because I don't want to make it difficult for you. Think of it this way. When we form a sentence is made up of several words together. Am I correct? Just let me see some body language. Just go, Jan, yeah, you got that right. So look, when you see a gesture, it doesn't just come there. Evidently, some motions came before it and some are going to come after it. So I'm noticing that Jan does this. And now I'm thinking, okay, what did she do prior to doing this gesture? And I recall that she gave me several positive gestures prior to doing this. Maybe the whole time that we spoke, she gave me good, continuous eye contact. I mean, that's a given in body language. Maybe her body started to lean forward, so that shows interest in body language. Then perhaps she sat back and would have done a steeple gesture. In this series of 3, it would let me know that she feels highly confident with what I am saying and probably will go along with what I have just proposed. Now, I want you to watch the exact opposite of that. Perhaps later on in our conversation, oops, I noticed that Jan steeples again. And now I'm thinking, what did she do prior to that second steeple? And this time I recall that she gave me several negative gestures prior to that second steeple. Maybe as we kept talking, she kept letting me see her glance at her watch. That's kind of negative. It's just two people sitting together having a conversation. Maybe after she did this, I noticed that she crossed her arms and I could no longer see her hands. The most negative and the most offensive of all arm crossing is when hands and fingers are not visible. In a room of this size, it doesn't matter. But in a meeting room of less than 7 people, I think that the way your arms are crossed really is a valuable piece of information. When you cannot see their hands and arms and fingers, it's as though this is a shield protecting them from receiving information. I'll show you the right way in just a few minutes to cross arms, but let me finish this descriptor. Jan has looked at her watch. She has severely crossed her arms, and then she happened to sit back and would have done a steeple gesture. In this series of 3, she would let me know that she feels highly confident in telling me no and will not go along with what I have just proposed. So as I teach this across the world, this is what I tell audiences. It is almost as though you learn another language. You know, we speak English, we speak French, we speak Spanish, we speak German. Think of all the languages we may have in this room. Why not learn to understand and speak this thing called body language? And what I'm going to teach you today is American body language. At the university level, I'm affiliated with University of Houston. I live in Houston, Texas. We study all the cultural body language too, because don't forget that. Every nationality does move their hands a bit differently, and we have to be aware of that and very conscious of it. But I want to give you American body language so that in your next conversations that you have someone figured out before they figure you out. Won't that be fabulous? Wouldn't it? As I look at your faces looking at me, would you hate to be married to me or what? I would hate to be married to me. I know I drive my husband. My little husband's name is Cecil. I know I must make Cecil crazy. Because, you know, sometimes I'll be like, Cecil, okay, you moved your hand a certain, you know, he's like, Jan, don't use your stuff on me is what he tells me. Poor thing. You know what, and he's a nurse, so he's into psychiatric care, so we kind of are on the same level in our training. I want to tell you how I got into this because it's kind of strange. How do you become a body language expert? Let me just give you some of the history, then it sits a little bit better with you. I am from Louisiana. I am a raging Cajun French child. My mom and dad speak French. I spoke French as a kid. Now I speak, of course, English. Not the Cajun way, I guess is what it is. I went to college at University of Louisiana Lafayette. I taught college there for several years. Then I moved to Houston and taught at the University of Houston for 8 years. But the real way that I got so interested in body language, I was in a graduate psychology class. I had a fun professor. Every few days, he would just walk in, and he would look at someone and say, I know what you're thinking. A few days later, come back, look at someone else. Oh, I know what you're thinking. A few days later, come back, look at someone else. I know what's on your mind. And then one day he said to me, he said, Jan, I know what you are thinking. And I thought to myself, how can that old fool know what I'm thinking? Because it always wasn't too pretty. So he told us about body language. And I said, you mean I can study how a person moves his hands and arms and eyes and shoulders and tell what's going on in his head? And he said, yeah, you can do it. And at that time, I was dating someone. So I happened to say to my college professor, I just simply said, so when this man tells me he loves me, I can figure out if he's telling the truth or not. He said, oh, yeah, you could do it. I said, I need to learn this stuff. I said, what an advantage I would have all my life. I could figure out if my boyfriends were telling me the truth or not. So I originally just started to study it because I wanted to use it on everyone who I knew. And you can remember from college, things that may have started off as minor research, it became eventually major research for me. So my thesis for my master's degree is in body language, and my dissertation, my third degree, is also in nonverbal communication. I am similar to some of you. I'm a business major. I am a psychology minor. So during the day at college, I've always taught business, business law, economics. But at every university, they'll come in, they'll say to professors, why don't you teach a class at night in an area that you're doing extensive research? They asked if I would teach a class in body language. Didn't quite know how to teach a class in that at the time, but I knew I was a teacher. I knew I'd done all these years of research, initiated a class, and now when I think back to it, I'm telling you that was 22 years ago. At that time, though, it was only criminal justice majors or pre-law majors interested in body language. Nowadays, I think anyone who has to have a conversation with someone has got to have a little bit of interest in it. So I would take these attorneys in, teach them how to spot liars and truth tellers, confidence, nervousness. I also do handwriting analysis. We should do a whole conference on that. That's kind of fun. We pick entire juries just based on a person's handwriting. Your handwriting is a big part of your body language. Another thing that we do in the courtroom, I don't want this to scare you, but we do a thing called facial analysis. That when you get in there, we will study at first the shape of your face, then the fullness of your lips, the arches in your eyebrows. It is primarily the texture of your skin that lets us know how lenient you are in the courtroom. I also do doodle analysis, so do not doodle while you're with me. I'll stop by and see if someone needs therapy after class, but I would teach this all semester. Then at the last class meeting every semester, I think you might like this, in my classroom, I would house a To Tell the Truth game panel show. There was an old show called To Tell the Truth years ago. So on my last night of class, I would always bring out 3 new people to my classroom. 2, of course, had to be imposters, and 1 was always of a true profession. First time I taught it on that last night, I brought out a nun. I had gone to a Catholic school. We had lots of nuns in Louisiana at that time, and I had a friend who was a nun. I said, I need you to come to my class on this night, but I said, you cannot wear your nun's habit. I asked her to please wear just a regular suit. Then I had to find myself 2 other ladies who looked a little nunly also. So as each lady would come, you can kind of tell a nun, can't you tell? My poor sister, I made her be one of the nuns. But as each lady would come in, I'd say, who are you? And the first would say, well, I am Sister Mary Teresa. And second would say, no, I am Sister Mary Teresa. And then the third, I remember she'd put her hands on her hips and say, I am the real Sister Mary Teresa. So then my class could ask them questions. How many beads on a rosary? Does a priest really drink the wine? I don't know what they ask them, but they ask them a series of questions. And I had trained my class members enough that they could look at these 3 ladies and watch their body language and tell which 2 were lying, which one was telling the truth. That's how I originally got into this. Never thinking it becomes such a science, but you cannot pick 12 jurors who think like your attorney thinks unless you do something the way that I do. So now you get me. Here we go. Let me take my hands and work my way down the body and give you some real gestures that you can use this afternoon in conversations with someone else. The very first thing I teach when I teach a class on this, and I'll teach you as if I'm giving one of my college lectures if you want, I talk about insides of palms. In body language, insides of palms always represent some kind of acceptance that you're feeling for another. If I went to hug you, look, I would go like this, and you would see both of the insides of my palms. I noticed in the hallway when some of you shook hands with someone else, you would give them your hand and your palm faced upward. That is a great gesture. When your hand is upward, it almost says, I like you, I accept you. Lesson number 1, insides of palms mean acceptance. Can you come shake my hand, sir, on the last row? Yes, because he had a good handshake. Let me just show you what I'm meaning. Well, I'll demonstrate for you so you can understand. What is your name again?
I'm Tim.
Hi, Tim, and we'll just shake hands here. What a nice-looking man you are, Tim. Thank you for coming up here. So let me just show you how to analyze someone's handshake. I saw him in the hallway. He has a really, really good handshake. You have about a 9.7 handshake on a 10-point scale. So let me just show you how to do that, because I want you to get so good that the moment you shake someone's hand, that you could figure out what kind of a friendship they want to have with you. Because think what happens the moment I touch Tim's hand. I have 2 insides of palms that touch. Inside palms mean acceptance, so the more that palms touch, well, the more acceptance is felt between the 2 people. Some people understand body language, though, and use it to their advantage. I think our national politicians kind of understand that, because they don't shake your hand like with 1. They come back with 2, because they're thinking the more I can get my palm on you, the better this will be for both of us. Or they may hold you here and say, it's good to see you, Tim. I have watched people, they'll try to palm you up and down. Insides of palms mean acceptance. I want you, when someone comes to you to shake your hand, first of all, start noticing what's the position of the handshake. So notice Tim comes to me straight up and down, and we'll explain what that says about his personality. Some people do this to you, though. They'll give you their hand, and their palm completely faces the ground. That is a whole different explanation there. Tim, this may be uncomfortable for you, but look, I'll turn your hand here. It means something else. I want to explain that to you also. Some people act as though they like you, but they never let you get close to them. Tim, let's each take a tiny step backwards even more. Look, some people are like this. This is called strong-arming you. It's an insecurity thing. Some people like to get real close, and maybe they want to touch you here, so I'll explain that. And then in body language, in handshaking, you kind of sometimes still get this kind of handshake. So I want to go through all of those with you. You're very cute when you're doing that, Tim. So, Tim, come back. So look. So once you've noticed what's the position, and we'll talk about the positions, I want you to notice when someone shakes your hand, how much they point their pointer finger towards you. Some people will do it this much. I want you to be aware of that. Some will just do it a tiny bit. When someone points a pointer finger at you in a handshake, it always indicates that that person would like to have the final word. So you could just nonchalantly push this finger down, okay? I'm going to pretend that Tim did this. So let's pretend that Tim came to me this way. And you know what's one thing I want to click in your brain is this. Everything I teach you about body language is logical information. You know that if someone comes to you and their hand is facing the ground, you know that they want to control that situation. When their hand faces downward, they're non-verbally saying to you, whatever we decide, I will have the final say-so. When someone comes to you and their hand is facing upward, this is always more submissiveness. So this would be me saying to you, whatever you decide, Tim, I'm okay with that. But when I work with people in sales skills and negotiating skills, and I want you to be aware of this, if ever someone comes to you to shake your hand and their hand is facing downward and you would like a 50-50 chance in that discussion, I would immediately turn the hand like this. They won't even realize what just happened, but they will quickly understand that you're as prepared for this conversation as they are. Absolute best kind of handshake is when the hand is straight up and down. What gives Tim such a good score when he shakes my hand, the 9.7, is that when he touches my hand, excuse me, he touches web to web. Now, I do not want to get into your personal lives, but I just need to know, have you been touching each other's webs? Look, this is a web right here between our thumb and our pointer finger. So an ideal business handshake, see how far it comes in? It comes in all this way, and then it allows he and I to have a good firm handshake. And I know that you've had some training in this, or I know that your mom or your pop when you were a kid said, the kind of handshake we give someone is very indicative of our level of self-esteem. When it is firm, it just says, I feel good about me. In this day and age, to get someone to have confidence in you, you must give them a good firm handshake. This is not a business handshake. It just is not. It's okay like today. Today's kind of a social event because this actually does come from this. So when someone just catches my fingers, I'm like, are they going to kiss me or what's the deal? You have to reach in all the way. And another part of shaking hands, this is kind of silly, but we teach this at the college level. The correct number of pumps in a handshake is 3. I know better. I get excited. I will pump 10 times. It's 3. Tim, let's try a 3 pump. So let's kind of get excited, okay? And I'd say, Tim, it's Jan, and we go, wonderful. Look at Tim. Yeah, you did about 4.5, Tim, but it's okay. Okay. I don't care how many times you do it. You're so sweet, and you look like you're a shy man. Are you a shy man a little bit?
No.
Is it? Tim, come back. With you here, you're perfect for this. Let me just show you something else that, and I'll move you up here just a bit in the front, Tim. I want to show you this other tiny gesture, and then we teach this in our college classes. It is a small gesture that people don't even know, but it's really powerful. It is when I touch him here. This is called anchoring in body language, and I want to explain what this really has, what kind of effect it has. The only acceptable area that I can touch another who I don't know well yet is between the wrist and the elbow. We can always touch someone here. If I would touch Tim here, and he's not my friend yet, he may feel that I'm invading his personal space. Once someone's our friend, though, look, we hug people, we kiss people. I mean, look, we're kind of in the South. But let's say you're having a meeting with someone, it's a really serious meeting, and you don't want to give that intimate a touch, it's perfectly okay to hold on here. Let me give you the definition of this. When I hold on to you here during a handshake, it non-verbally sends a message that says, I am fully present in this conversation. What happens is that it just stops you for a second. You give the person good eye contact, and you validate that person as an individual. Because so many times don't people shake your hand and then they dismiss you? Haven't we had that little feeling in life? If you're holding on to them here, they will never comfortably let go of you till you're ready to be let go of. And another word of caution, the handshake, the proper way to do it is to completely square your shoulders to your partner's shoulders. So Tim, we need to be like this, always. Because it always says in body language that we point our bodies where our minds want to go. Stay just as you are, but I'll point my feet towards here. If I am shaking Tim's hand, but yet I'm pointed that way, that is quite discourteous to this young man. I would need to be in front of you, letting you know that I want to have a conversation with you. You feel it now, Tim, don't you? Yes, he does. You know what, and as we work, and stay here just for a second, I want to just show you this tiny thing, you know, as you watch perhaps people in the political field or I just want to show you what you can watch for and something that's interesting. all of our studies in the political debates, that began with Richard Nixon and John Kennedy. If some of you can recall any of that research there, that was the first time that we ever had a televised debate. And for the afternoon of that debate, Richard Nixon did say to John Kennedy, he said, will you wear face makeup? And John said no, but John ended up wearing face makeup, and so he came in front of the cameras. He was youthful, he was tanned, he looked relaxed, and Richard Nixon did not wear any. And what happened was this, the lighting in there, and we ladies know how lighting can make a big difference, right? The light was right above him, and he began to perspire, and they had their debate. People who watched it on television said that, of course, that John Kennedy won, but people who did not have TVs yet and listened to it on their home radios, they said that Richard Nixon won. So that lets you know the power of television and why they wear a certain kind of tie when they're debating, why they wear a pin here when they're debating. All of that sells that person. Well, way back, even in the years of President Obama and Mitt Romney, when they were debating, they had an unusual handshake, and I had a lot of TV stations call me, and they said, okay, Jan, what's really going on with them? So let me just show you how we did it for TV. We'll be the two guys, okay, Tim? And everything that I would do to you would do to me. So they reached in and they did a 3 pump. So they did 1, 2, 3. They came each a bit closer and they held on here. And they looked at each other like this for just a few minutes. Tim, you're doing so well. Then they came about right here and they find some muscle on me. Find some on Jan Hargrave. You got a little bit on Tim, yeah. And then look, they came about right here and they started patting. Just go ahead and pat me. And they kept patting and patting and patting. And I thought they'd never quit patting, because it says in body language, the person who pats the last is the one in control of the conversation. He is to give Tim a hand, please. Thank you, Tim. I'm going to get some water right here. Thought they'd never quit patting. Hold on. I've been wanting this water for just a few seconds here. Oh, that feels so good. That was fun, Tim. Now I feel better. So think about what you learned, because I want to show you how you can apply this into your own personal lives. Look at my hands for a bit. When you are speaking and your hands are facing downward, that always gives an aura of control. When you're wanting to say something and you're serious about it, you make sure that your hands are like this. When your hands are upward, it's a little bit more submissiveness, but it is not that one is better than the other. Both need to be used in all of your conversations. When you are serious, it is okay to do this, and then watch this. If ever you notice that you're losing your listening partner, you have to do this. This says, I welcome a question from you now. This says, I want to pretty much control the conversation. And look, I'm kind of making the gestures big because I'm up here. You don't have to make them that big. You could be at your desk and your hands are like this. Or you could be at your desk and your hands are like this. But downward-facing palms are controlling. Upward-facing palms are pretty inviting to another person to join into your conversation. Let me show you the right way to cross your arms. Remember, I showed you the wrong way. The only acceptable arm crossing that we allow and teach in college negotiating classes is when hands and fingers are visible. This one is okay. It is called a resting position or a coach's position, and watch this. Even only one hand showing is okay, because this is as though you are in contemplation, as opposed to saying, I don't even care what you're saying, I am not listening. Because when you are this way, I mean, you're listening, you're kind of closed off, but this is really, really closed off. It's as though you have a shield in front of yourself protecting you from receiving information. And I know, but you say, but Jan, I talk with others, and the whole time I'm speaking with them, they stay so tightly crossed. It is wise if you could get your listening partner, if they're this way, to uncross, but you know what you can? By handing them something. Hand them a document, give them a cup of coffee, because look what happens. If I have to receive something from you, I have to uncross my arms. It is said in body language that the more open the upper part of a person's body is, the more receptive their mind is to taking in and taking in information. And I know that ladies say, Jan, I sit like that when I'm cold. And there is a difference in a lady who is cold and a lady who is angry. When ladies are cold, our shoulders are this way. And when we are angry, I mean, how far back can we get our, and the head kind of goes this way. I never did that. I just saw it done on TV. I'm sure I did it. I'm going to talk to you about lying and telling the truth. You want to figure out if someone's lying to you? Don't you want to know that? Do not get in trouble with what I will teach you, though, but I'll teach you some basics that we know from courtroom work. There's a little bit of information they let us tell out, and I'll give you some of that information. I'll give you 3 or 4 gestures that we know that people do when they lie. I'll also give you 3 or 4 gestures that we know that people do when they tell the truth. Because we listen to testimony day after day after day, and so we've noted every time they lie, they do this and this and this and this. Every time they tell the truth, they do this and this and this. But body language in the courtroom, that is still body language in the business world. So just take everything that we have studied and you apply that in your very own lives. I bet that you're pretty okay with spotting little lies. What's the first thing that you all look at to see if someone's being truthful with you? What's the first thing that you would look at? It's going to be their eyes. Now, we look at eyes a little bit differently in the courtroom, and I'll teach you how we study eye motions that indicate deception. And you're right. I mean, eyes are the very first thing. They're the windows to the soul. We study voice inflection because a voice does a certain thing when people lie. But the biggest motion comes from your hands. People actually move their hands a certain way when they're uncomfortable with what they're saying. And then people move their hands another way when they feel 100% correct with what it is that they're saying to someone else. I want to mention the eyes for a bit. You are so, so correct. Look at your eyes right now. You know, and you're so nice. You're giving me really, really good eye contact. But you know what? Because we are schooled and educated people in here, and that's something we know. We have some common sense in here. We know we have to look at other people. Some people I don't think know that. But you know what? Good eye contact, that is a sign of respect. It is a sign of courtesy. And you know that. You and I were trained, and and our moms always said, you look at me when I'm talking with you, did she not? So we know that we have to look at people a long time, and I will give you even what's the percentage of time that you should give people in a direct conversation, good eye contact. Like, let's say, young lady, you and I are having a conversation. While we are speaking with each other, 80% of the time that we're talking with each other, my eyes need to be looking at your eyes. 20% of the time I'll look away and I'll get a thought, and then I need to come back and I need to look at you. That's how much we have to give someone in eye contact. You can never stare at someone 100% of the time you're talking with them. They will think that you are crazy, okay? Our prisoners do that, so you cannot do that. Let me give you the 3 things that we note about eye behavior that indicate deception. The first one is something you already know. Of course, we don't trust their story if their eyes don't meet ours. We also never trust their story if their eyes excessively blink as they're talking with us. And we also never trust their story if their eyes remain closed for longer than necessary while they're talking with us. You ever had a conversation with someone and the whole time you're talking with them, look, they're like this, you're like, what is going on with that person? When the eyes remain closed for too long, it indicates that they are blocking information about themselves from you. So just be careful of those who never meet your eyes. Be careful of those who excessively blink. And then be careful of those who keep their eyes closed for too long. And even in some of your political candidates, Dr. Ben Carson was guilty of keeping his eyes closed for too long. And though sometimes I noted, and when I did the research, that people of super high intelligence, as Ben is, sometimes they do have to get within themselves to get their next thought. So I could not badmouth Ben for that. But the American public does not know that. They're just concerned like, oh, he keeps his eyes closed for too long. Why is he doing that? And then Marco Rubio was the excessive blinker. I think he wore contacts, so you have to always be careful of what's going on there. So be careful about the eye motions. The only 2 things you have to remember about voices is this. When someone is stressed and strained and lying to you, the vocal cords get extremely tight and the voice gets a lot higher. When people lie, the voice gets very high. When people are frightened, the voice gets very low. That's the only things you have to remember there. And then the hands. And once you know what happens to a person's hands when they lie, it makes a world of difference in your life. I'm going to do this with you because I know that you are astute enough to do it. I will let you catch me in a lie. You can do it. You can do it, okay? So this is how we're going to take it. I will tell you 4 things about me, and I'll call them A, B, C, and D. I will make certain that 3 are true, and I will make certain that 1 is a lie. All of you know the sound of my voice, so I'm going to make certain that on my lie, my voice gets extremely high. So I want you to keenly tune into sound as I give you A, B, C, and D. All of you can see my eyes. I will make sure that my eyes weird out in my lie, okay? So watch for that. And then I'm going to put my hands differently for each one. Okay, so you got your job. You're trying to say, okay, which one does her voice go the highest for? Which one does her eyes get the craziest for? And then what's happening to her hands. So I'll give you 4 sentences, A, B, C, D. Here comes A. A for A. A, I'll write them up and I'll say this. I once kissed Mario Lopez. I think you might know Mario. He finished second to Emmett Smith on Dancing with the Stars. I once kissed Mario. For B, I want to do this. I'll just put my hands here because I think you know what that means, and I'll turn around and see and let you see my face, and I'll say this for B. My college grade point average for my master's degree was a 3.8. For C, I want to try this, and I'll take my hands and just cross them here and say this. I was once selected crawfish queen in Southwest Louisiana. And then for D, let me try this, and I'll take my hands here and point them downward and say this. I wrote an article on Tiger Woods' body language for Golf magazine. Will not tell you just yet which one is a lie, but I can feel the intensity of your eyes upon me now. Now you're kind of scaring me, okay? Now you're kind of scaring me. I think that you kind of got which one. Let's see which one you thought was a lie, because I never want you to be lied to again. I want to teach you how to catch that. Let's see with what you know thus far, and then I'll give you the hand motions that you would feel which one was the lie. Who thinks that maybe my lie was A? A was kissing Mario. Kissing Mario. Let me see your hands. And that is an excellent choice. I see your hands back there. Who thinks that maybe my lie was B? B was college grade point average, because numbers are pretty easy to lie about. I see your little hands, so that's okay. What about C? C is crawfish queen. Let me see your hands. I see your hands, and that's a good choice. And then what about D, writing the article on Tiger? I see your hand there, see your hand there. So in other words, we have someone fooled on each one, and some of you have no earthly idea. Is that what we're getting at? I'll show you how to spot that one, because that should never happen to you again. You need to get this right every time. Let me give you 3 or 4 gestures of dishonesty that they let us tell outside the courtroom. And I'll be nice to you. I'll give you 2 honesty gestures, too. I'll give you an honesty gesture that ladies do, and I'll give you an honesty gesture that men do. Won't that be fabulous? A male honesty gesture. Then, guys, you can lie, and she'll never know you're lying because you're doing the honesty gesture. You get people all mixed up. Watch the 3 major, and this is what we found from years and years of research in this field is this. When someone is highly uncomfortable with what they're telling you and probably lying to you, they have a huge tendency to gesture with their left hand, their left index finger, and as the person lies, they quickly and nervously will start touching something on the left side of their face. I want to show you what the liar touches in just a second, but let's clarify one big fact. It is not that our left-handed friends lie more than our right-handed friends. The only reason the left hand is used for dishonesty, and all of you can help me with this because we talked about it earlier, this left hand is controlled by what? This side. Look, this side can make up a story. When you tell a fib, it comes from here, and therefore the motor skill is with this hand. That's the only reason left hand is used. Watch dishonesty gesture number 1. Someone's getting ready to tell you something, and they know that part of this is not true. The very first thing they do, they're going to sit back, they'll take their left hand, and as that person lies, they very slowly will rub up and down the left side of their nose. A liar does this. He goes up twice, and then he looks down, and then comes out twice. He usually goes up twice, out twice. Ever had someone say to you, yeah, you look real good? And you believe them they were lying to you? This is a huge dishonesty gesture. I'm a teacher. I never want to teach you something and not validate it for you. I'm going to do it in slow motion, and I want you to tell me exactly what happened. Look, when I did this, and then more so when I'm doing this, what's going on right now? What's going on right now? I'm covering my mouth. A liar brings a hand here to try to distract you from the information coming out of their mouth. So they will try to distract you with fingernails they wear. They try to distract you with rings they wear. Even watches that people wear can distract you. If you're in a conversation with someone and they have a nice ring on and they keep doing this and doing this, after a while you're not paying attention. You're thinking, wow, that's a good looking ring. We tend to bring something here to distract from another, what's coming out of the mouth. In body language, this little motion here, that is called a manipulator. There is no sense that someone excessively touches their face while they're talking with you. They touch their face because they are highly uncomfortable with what it is that they're saying. And I know that you watch your newscasters here in town give news at 6 p.m. and 10 p.m. You ever looked at newscasters carefully? Do they ever touch their faces? They never touch their faces. The girls never even fix their hair. The guys never fix their ties because they are trained to get you to believe their story. They just talk with you. The more that someone touches of their face while they're talking with you, the less likely it is that what they're saying to you is the truth. And one thing I want to caution you with is this. Let's say that you're not even speaking and you're just listening to someone speak, and as they speak, you catch yourself doing one of the lying gestures. Let's say they're talking and you're doing this. If you are doing it while someone else is speaking, it means that you feel you are being lied to. It's as though you're thinking, this stuff stinks. I don't believe a word of it. If ever you need it, you better touch your nose like this, if ever you need to touch it. I want you to notice where this comes from. You see this gesture here? When you were a kid and you said something you should not have said, you can show with your hands. You went like this. Didn't you go like this? So look, now you're just a bit more sophisticated, and when you lie, you do something of this sort. It is a huge, huge dishonesty gesture. And I don't know if you watched when Bill Clinton testified, it's well documented. Bill did do this once every 4 minutes. So they said, Bill, you can't do that. You can't do that. Let me give you lying gesture 2 and lying gesture 3 to tie them all together. All major dishonesty, it is the left hand, comes back to the left side of the face. Dishonesty gesture number 2 is simply this. It has to be left hand, has to be left eye. Excessive tugging of the left eye with the left hand non-verbally sends a message that says, do not see very clearly what I'm saying because I am not being fully truthful with you. And when someone is being deceptive and they touch their eye, they will use words that have to do with sight. So they'll rub on the eye and they'll say, yeah, that looks real good. And they're just fibbing each time. Watch the third one because then it's going to all make sense. Again, it's the left hand, comes back to the left side of the face, and now it is this. I know that you've watched people have entire conversations with you doing this. There is no sense that someone is doing this. They're doing it so that you look here and that you do not look here. And when they touch their ear and they lie, they typically use words that have to do with hearing. So they'll pull on the ear and they'll say, that sounds good. They'll touch the eye and they'll say, yeah, that looks good. This doesn't say it smells good. This is kind of like the Pinocchio effect. That's really why you're touching the nose. And also what happens when you tell a lie, you get a tingling sensation in your nose every time you lie. And so because of that, that's why you see people do this gesture, do this gesture. I think you understand why they touch the nose because they want to cover the mouth. But why would one person, when being deceptive, touch his eye? And why would someone else right next to him, when being deceptive, touch his ear? These two touches go back to that person's preferred method of learning. In this room, I've been watching your little eyes. In here, some of us are called visual learners. We have to see something for it to sink in here. Our teacher said we were visual people. Some of us in here are called audio learners. We just hear it and it sinks in here. If you are a visual person saying something that makes you uncomfortable, touching your eye will soothe you. If you're an audio person saying something that makes you uncomfortable, you will touch your ear because it soothes you. All of us in times of dishonesty will end up touching the nose. I want to help you figure out if you're visual or audio. It takes 2 seconds. It's an experiment called chinners and cheekers. Just take your right hand and touch your right cheek so that you can figure out how it is that you learn. And I'll either have you touch your cheek or your chin. And not to make any of you uncomfortable, I won't look at you. I'll just look straight ahead. It goes pretty fast, so I need you with me. Let's touch our cheek, our chin, our cheek, our chin, our cheek, our cheek, our cheek, our chin, our cheek, our chin. Good. Our cheek, our chin, our cheek, our cheek. Stop. Stay the way you landed. Either way you landed is okay. Stay that way just for 1 second. Either way you landed is okay, because that's how you figure you. Look, if you ended up where I ended up, that means your little eyes never left me. You were just doing what I was doing. So you're called a visual person. If you ended up where I said, you're focusing on the words you hear, so you're called an audio person. Look, if you're still doing this right now, I'm highly concerned about you. If you're still doing this, but you can. So now you found out about you. Didn't you find out about you? Not to say that you would lie, but maybe you're uncomfortable and you're visual. Oh yeah, you do this. If you're audio, you'll end up doing this. There's a lot of others. In your handout, we'll give some. Let me give you 2 honesty gestures, one for ladies, one for men. Honesty's done with the right hand. The most sincere gesture we've ever recorded, it is still this. It's when that right hand comes here. I know that you've watched someone do this and said, wow, I had a great time, and you believe them. It is very similar to the pledge, but let me show you this. In the pledge, our fingers are supposed to be together. In the honesty, see how wide apart they are? Just like at the beginning when you said, I promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. This is a huge honesty gesture here. When a man wants to be believed, sweet men, you know what men always think they need to do? Men always think they need to show us their palms. Men are like, I didn't go there. I've been here all night, baby. So guys, you don't have to do this anymore. Just go, yeah, I've been here all night. You look great in that dress. Just keep But you know what happens when I teach a class on this, and then I meet people in the hallway and they're kind of nervous talking with me, they end up doing all of the gestures at the same time. They're like, yeah, Jan, that's... It's going to happen to you, but now it's sinking in, right? Because now you know that right hand is with honesty, left hand is with dishonesty. And when I think about the eyes, I work with a lot of criminals, too. I know it's a shame to say that, but I don't know if you ever saw that show, The Jinx. It was Robert Durst. I do the body language. I don't want to say I work with him. I do the body language of people who are sometimes in trouble. He did a show called The Jinx about some ladies who were missing that were dead. And what happened is that they filmed him, and then at the end, he went into the men's room. It was on HBO. It was a show called The Jinx, and did not know the microphone was still on, and said, yeah, I did it. I killed them all. Do you know him? You know what I'm talking about, Robert Durst? I did his body language, I think, and that was for NBC. You can Google us together, and you can see it. I also had done Casey Anthony's body language. I did not pick that jury. Don't blame that for me. I did Jorn Vandersloot. We did Scott Peterson, all of that, way back to even the OJ days. So as you go back and you look at some of that, watch some of the gestures that they will end up doing. Out of my 4, let me tell you which one was a lie. A was true. I kissed Mario. Isn't that something? I get more applause for that than my college grade point average. But look, in America, this is a sign of proudness. When the thumbs are displayed. In other countries, it's not a very good gesture, so don't do it to other countries. My A was true, my B was true too. I put my hands behind me, said my college grade point average. But look, this is kind of military looking, is it not? And I'm sure you noticed this, it's not real ladylike, but as a speaker, we're trained. My feet stayed exactly shoulder width apart, because we are trained that when we need to deliver a message, we need to establish a substance and stability and then talk. Because if I would talk to you for an hour, and look, I would really go swinging hip and hip, it gets too wishy-washy. Sometimes you just have to stand there and do it. And another secret that speakers know is that you think clearer when your weight is evenly distributed between your 2 feet. So that's why you see speakers stand that way. My A was true, my B was true, my lie was C. I was never crawfish queen, but I've eaten a ton of crawfish in my life. And you saw what I did. I just did this. Is it my time? Am I up? Okay, I can go a little bit longer because I have to get to the sock puller. Okay, so my lie was C. Remember, I crossed my fingers here. I want you to watch when adults do excessive finger crossing when they're talking with you. I mean, you ever saw people maybe talk and they'll do this or maybe do even this? All of that finger crossing, that goes back to this. that when they were a kid, they said, I hope they don't find out what I said is a big old lie. It's better to talk and look, your fingers are all straight out. It is impolite to point. That is to teacher-student, whether it's this way or this way. You almost can only do it, like, you know, they'll say here at the hotels, they'll say it's in that direction or that direction. So watch kind of how you're working your hands, because they give a big part of what your personality is like out to other people. And then lastly, I said I did the article on Tiger, and that's true. It's in Golf Magazine. I took 16 different positions that Tiger takes on the golf course and analyzed them. I don't like to use the word Tiger in position in the same sentence, but I took 16 different positions. Let's talk about the sock puller. I've been waiting to tell you about the sock puller. Remember I said if a man pulls up his sock, maybe he's interested in you. I wrote some books, 5 books, and one book just happens to be about love. Love. Isn't that, you want some love? I'll teach you some love, some body language of love. These are the 5. Look, my first book is Let Me See Your Body Talk, and that's body language job interview, body language presentation skills, body language gender differences. Olivia Newton-John had a song, Let Me Hear Your Body Talk. Mine's Let Me See. That's a pretty good name for a book in body language, huh? My next book was Judge the Jury. It's everything we do in the courtroom. So it's how to spot a liar. My handwriting analysis is in here, and my facial analysis is in here. My doula analysis is even in here too. My third book, though, is Freeway of Love, and it's signs that men and women do that say, baby, get over here, I'll treat you to this. I do this book a lot on Steve, but we're often doing this book together. My fourth book is Strictly Business Body Language. This is just negotiation, so this is probably best for you. Am I still okay with my mic, honey? Am I okay? This one has pictures of every conceivable sitting, standing position you can think of. It took me 4 books to write in body language to figure out I needed to put a lot of pictures. So this one's full of pictures. And what I also did in this one, I put a chapter on room layout, like where is your power position at a circular table, at a U-shaped table. All of that is in here. And then my last book is titled Poker Face. It's the body language of poker players. Not that any of you are gamblers, but I, Jan Hargrave, I am a bit of a gambler. So I'm going to do a little bit of love for you. We'll close with a little bit of love. I'll give you a couple of gestures that men do that say, oh, and I have her card here, that say, oh, he looks good or she looks good. So, and in this book, since the name of it is On the Freeway of Love, and there was an old song, On the Freeway of Love in My Pink Cadillac, remember that song? I decided when I wrote it that I wanted the reader to travel this freeway of love, freeway of romance. So chapter 1, you just see someone who looks good from across the room. We've all been there. Chapter 2, now the other person is looking at you and you're looking at them. Maybe chapter 3, you stood up and you're brave and you're going to walk towards them. So what I did in the book, since the book is titled A Song, I titled every chapter in the book a song. So chapter 1 in here is titled Let's Get It On by Marvin Gaye. Chapter 2 is titled The Look of Love. It's the song by Sergio Mendes because it's about eyes. Chapter 3 is they're getting closer to each other, so I use Roberta Flack's The Closer I Get to You. It just goes downhill from there. There's 11 chapters. You don't even want to know. But chapters like Love Should Have Brought You Home Last Night, those kind of things. But I did one chapter. Chapter 7 in the book is about liars, about how to tell if your lover is lying to you, and I titled it Smooth Operator by Sade. And what I did in chapter 7, I listed the 101 most often told lies that lovers tell each other. Look, I listed 101, but I bet all of you know what's lie number 1. It's not the bad thing, it's just a little bitty lie. What's the first little lie that couples tell each other? What do you think? What do you think it is? I love you is lie number 2. Have you been saying that to a lot of men? No. Lie number 2 is I love you. She said, shh. Lie number 10 is I have never done this kind of thing before. Lie number 1 is I'll call you. Because we'll say, can I see you Saturday? They'll say, I'll call you. Well, now you catch them because they'll go, yeah, baby, I'll call you. So I'll give you 2 or 3 gestures that guys do that say, I think she's really pretty, and I'll give you some that men do. You know what's the number 1 male gesture in America, ladies? When a man likes you and he does not quite know how to tell you that he likes you, men always, when they're uncomfortable behind you, they'll always pull up their socks. sock pulling is the number one. And, you know, I live in Texas. I see men dig in cowboy boots for socks. I mean, haven't you seen that? You know what's so precious about men, too? Men will sometimes try to sneak a pull. You ever saw a guy do that? Anytime they touch the sock, it is a huge, huge courtship gesture. Ladies, if you see a man who you like and he's pulling up his socks, just go to him and say, I know it's me, baby. Come on over here. Or ladies, if you pull up your socks, you might want to say guys, if you pull up your socks, you might want to say, who's in this room that I'm interested in? It is the number one. It's a cute one. You know, it's another one that guys do, and I walked by a bar last night in this hotel. A guy and a girl were talking with each other. I think that's the funniest thing about what I do for a living is I can spot couples and see who's going to pick up who. But they were talking with each other, and he had a beer can in his hand. So ladies, what do guys do if they have a beer can in their hand and you're making them nervous? They kind of squeeze it, they let it go, they squeeze it. Every time they squeeze that can, they're thinking to themselves, I'd like to squeeze you, baby. So you might want to watch the cans of the guys you're talking with. And another cute, cute thing that guys do, guys, when they enter the room where the lady is who they find is attractive, guys end up preening, P-R-E-E-N-I-N-G. They will walk in and they'll kind of do this. They'll kind of run, and we like you to do that, guys. It looks good. Then they get nervous, so they start to fix their tie. That is preening. Watch this one. Haven't you ever seen a guy do this? This is a courtship gesture. He's getting ready. And then look, then they get serious. They'll put their thumbs here, kind of point their fingers towards their zipper area. Ladies, do not go near this guy. He's getting ready for some serious things. Tim, you feel like coming back up here? Poor Tim. Come on, Tim. Come on, Tim. Hey, baby, can I have 2 chairs? He's good, but Tim, I will not harm you. You good for this. Can I have 2 chairs? We're going to pretend to be a couple on a date. Look at Tim. Tim. So we're going to, thank you for helping me. You're married, man? Oh. Tim, come on back. Come see. I'm going to show them how to spot a couple, and we'll sit close. I'm going to just show them what I'm talking about. I've been wanting to sit. Come on, let's sit together. Okay, because don't you sometimes see couples and you think, well, what, they look like they like each other. But sometimes people are pretending to like each other, correct? So I'm going to show you how to tell if a couple really likes each other or are they pretending to like each other. So we're going to kind of set it up, and I appreciate you helping me. You're perfect for this. I'm going to pretend that we went to this party. I didn't even know him. I saw him across the room, and I thought, well, he looks nice. And maybe you said she's okay, too. So we're going to pretend that you asked me to dance. We did a dance, a couple of dances, slow dances, and you held me kind of tight, and I liked it. And you liked it a little bit, too, Tim. So then now we decided that we'll sit on this little couch and we'll just have a conversation. So we'll do 3 different scenes for them. So for scene 1, I'd like you to cross this leg over that leg if you can. Perfect, Tim. And let's do this. Let's cross our arms like this. Let's cross our arms, and let's kind of lean towards each other a little bit. Because remember, you kind of like me. So you got to act like you kind of like me, okay? And I'll start off the conversation. I'll count to 3, and you can pipe in. We've got to stay like this the whole time that we're seated by each other. So ready, 1, 2, 3. Wow, you're a good dancer. I had fun. You had fun?
I had a wonderful time.
You did, Tim? I'm glad you asked me to dance. I mean, I liked it. You held me nice. It was nice.
Well, I was a little bit concerned you might fall.
For real? I liked it. Are you here by yourself?
Yes.
Me too. Is this your first time at this party?
Yes, it is.
Me too. I would come here again if you came. Maybe so? If we came back here together a little bit? Maybe?
I'd like that.
You would?
You have a number?
I have a number. Look at Tim, girl. Yeah. Like we say in Texas, this is not his first rodeo. Tim, wait, perfect. Okay, get like this for the end. So let me just show them. So look, if you saw this little couple, you did perfect, Tim. If you saw this little couple sitting somewhere, now they're talking like they like each other. But I want you to tell me what their body language is saying. Their body language is saying no, 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 and their mouth is saying yeah, yeah, yeah. So the arms crossed say, lady, I don't really care what you're saying. I want to get back to my chair. The big thing, though, that you have to watch when you're watching a couple is how their legs are crossed. I cross Tim that way and I'm crossed this way. When people are crossed opposite of each other, there is so much disassociation that they're not even on the same wavelength. So let's show them the opposite of that, Tim. Let's cross towards each other. And you can put an arm here because I feel like you want to now, okay? Tim, and you look so nice. Doesn't Tim look nice? He does look nice. So Tim, it's the same couple, Tim Brown. We'll have the same conversation. I had fun with you. You had fun? Yeah. He is so precious. They loving you.
I know.
I know. Tim, what made you ask me to dance? What was it? What do you think?
Your eyes.
You think it was my eyes? I'm glad you did. I like you. Look, we're going to have an affair up here on stage. Let's stop it. Okay, so look, I kind of got into it. This is... Hey, look, okay, so look, in this scene, I'm going to stop this scene. But look, if you saw a couple like this, you wouldn't go near those people, right? Because they're like into each other, nothing's stopping them. And then I want you to watch what's happening with the legs. Even though they don't touch, they kind of overlap, and they lock the couple in. So they're giving a message that says, we're a couple, and get out of our business. I'm going to do a scene 3. We're going to put our backs a little bit to each other, Tim. If you angle and face that way, and I'll face this way, and just pretend that you're reading a book, and I'm going to be looking at my fingernails, and I want you people in here to tell me what kind of people sit like this. Married people sit like this. Married people sit like this, but you know what is one of the best ways to see a couple seated? Because when a couple has a good, healthy relationship, they do not have to be in each other's face. She can read her book and say, I can feel that Tim is there, and Tim can read his book and say, I can feel that Jan's there. If you sit like this with your spouse, be very happy because it's a good, contented relationship. When people are insecure with each other, they're in each other's face. So just face me for a bit, Tim. When they're insecure, they're like this, like, do you love me? You gotta love me. You love me? Do you love me?
I love you a lot.
Okay, so with Tim here, stay with me, Tim. I'm gonna do a few gestures that girls do, because Tim, and look, the book is filled with, and what I did in the book too, I put a chapter on ladies' shoes and men's shoes, and I put pictures of them, and that you can just look at someone's shoes and tell what kind of boyfriend they would be. That's why I pulled Tim up here. Look at his nice shoes. Look at his nice shoes. So they looking now, Tim. So I'm going to show you, with the guy, let me give you a few gestures that ladies do. And men always think that the lady touches her hair, she probably likes him. That is not the first gesture that we do. We ladies do 3 other things before we even touch our hair. The very first thing a lady does when she's interested in someone, a lady always crosses her leg towards the person she likes the most. Do not start looking at your seat partners right now, okay? You're trying to, okay, where they cross. But if we like you, Tim, we'll always cross towards you. And then to let you know that we'd like to engage in conversation with you, a lady does a slow kick. A slow kick is like, yeah, he looks good. You know, you never want to see a lady kick fast, because a fast kick says I'm really impatient with you, so it has to be a slow kick. Look, she's kicking fast right there. And then the lady's number 1 gesture that says, I find him extremely handsome and I'd like to talk with you, is when she starts to dangle her shoe. Women, you've had some dangles, I'm sure, in your life. Women, we tend to dangle our shoes. But so think where this comes from. And then she touches her hair, but I want to analyze this for a minute. For males and for females, the number 1 gesture has to do with feet. Because think where that goes. That's the Cinderella effect. It goes back to the beginning of time. It was shoes that were originally hung behind wedding cars. Now it's cans and everything else. So everything goes back to the feet. And then after she's done that, then she gets into her hair. And the more that the girl gets into her hair, the more she's into the guy. And so girls go like this and go like this. But ladies, let's be aware of this. If you know that touching your hair is a courtship gesture, you cannot fool a lot with your hair in a serious business meeting, because it undermines, because it undermines the seriousness that you have laid on the table. I don't think that any of you do that, but just be careful about all this throwing and throwing and throwing. Men use their hair too during courtship. I know Tim's been busy slicking is what it is. Because ladies, if you're driving, you pass up a guy and he thinks you're nice looking, you look in the rearview mirror, you just slicking back. He's just been busy slicking is what it is. We have this wonderful saying in Louisiana, though, Tim. We say, men who do not have hair in the front, those are thinkers, and men who do not have hair in the back, those are lovers, and men who do not have hair anywhere, they just think that they are lovers. So I'm giving you that one, Tim. He's never going to like me again. I'm teasing. Let me show you another thing that ladies do, and you've been so nice to me. I'll give you the love book. But another thing that ladies do, when a lady is interested in you, you've seen a lady do this a lot of times, and this is a big courtship gesture. It usually indicates that she's thinking to herself, I'd like to hold on to him, but I'll look prim and proper now, and I'll hold on to myself. When a woman is extremely, extremely comfortable with you, she sits on a leg. And this says, I'd like to get to know you better. Because ladies, didn't you sit like this at home when you were courting? It is a big gesture also of comfort with someone else. I mean, there are hundreds of gestures. Even women who, this is going to sound really weird, who display their wrists often. It's an indicator that you're single and available. Don't be walking around the whole conference like this. But you know what it goes back to? You remember the old black and white movies? They'd even have a woman smoke a cigarette so that the wrist was exposed. So there are just hundreds. So I don't want to see you out there in the lobby, just kind of doing like this. Let me show you something else. Let's stand up for a minute, Tim, and push our chairs back. I'm going to just pretend that we're a couple and we're at a party. So just how would you hold your girlfriend's hand? How would you hold someone's hand, Tim? Oh my gosh.
Okay.
Let's do Tim, wait. Let's do side by side. Just side by side. Just side by side. Okay? Oh, look. So he does this. Some people do this. This is pretty possessive, Tim. Okay. So let's say that we're at a party and we're girlfriend and boyfriend, and someone's talking to Tim a little too much. Now, we don't want to say, will you quit talking to Tim, But we try to do nonverbal things. Could you come be the other woman right here? You look like the other woman. She's the other woman. And she's going to talk to Tim, and I'm going to think, why is she talking to him too much? Does she not work with him? And they talk to each other. So can you just face Tim for a little while? And her name is? Doretha, can you stand right here? And just pretend you're talking with Tim, but don't talk. Just nonverbally communicate. And I'm thinking, I cannot believe that she's talking with no. So we don't get on. The very first gesture that we do to let someone else know, you need to bug off of Tim, we start off doing stuff like this. We start pulling pieces of imaginary things off his clothing. It's as if we're saying, this is my boyfriend, this is my husband, you need to quit talking with him. And then if she still continues to talk, we will get between both of them and do this. It's like saying, this is mine, doesn't he look good? And then the biggest gesture, and you can stand on the side of me for a minute, the biggest gesture that a couple does when they are in public to let others know to leave them alone is when either party will arrange the other's hair. Now, that's kind of tough to do, but sometimes a girl will do this to you, Tim. And guys, too, I've seen guys take chunks of a lady's hair and kind of just push it back. Hair is you cannot touch people's hair. But if couples touch each other's hair, they're probably intimate in some kind of form or fashion, and they're used to being with each other, so that's why I wanted to just teach you that. Give Tim and his new lady a hand, please. Thank you. Thank you, Tim. We'll talk, baby. So through. Thank you. I want to just summarize what we learned, and then I'm going to do the politician's body language for you if you want. But you remember at the very beginning, I talked about the change in the pockets, and I said if a guy fools with the change in his pockets too much, it means he's concerned about finances. That is a true sentence. It's not that it's negative, it's just that he thinks about money way too much. And you guys, you shouldn't do it because it's distracting. It's as if someone's clicking a ballpoint the whole time they're talking with you. And then this gesture here, because this was question number 1, and I said if a guy does this and he's listening to you, I said it is a gesture that says that he's seriously contemplating what's going on. And that is true. This is a big evaluation gesture. When a guy does it, it's as though he's thinking, how much of this stuff should I incorporate in my being? My guys in here, can you do it? You do it with your right hand or left hand. Can you do it just real quickly? Let me see the guys do it. I think men are handsome when they do it. You need to do it, all of you. They're kind of sexy when they do it. Men evaluate like this, and when a lady evaluates, look what a lady does. A lady points a finger up and raises a finger here. This is called critically evaluate. This is called boredom. This is critically evaluating. You know what's so interesting and so sweet about watching, because 8 o'clock in the morning is a pretty tough time, but look how sweet you are. Let me tell you what I'm reading from you in here, which is so sweet and so nice for a speaker to see. Let me show you what I'm seeing. Just freeze each of your little heads just like it is. And I'll tell you what I'm seeing from you. Slight tilts of heads show interest. I do not know who's been teaching you people how to tilt, but look, you have some good tilts. When someone is not interested in something, their head straight up and down. It's like, when is this thing going to be over? But if you're into it, you're like, oh, that's kind of nice. So let's say next week you have a meeting with someone, you don't like them, but you want them to think you like them. Just kind of tilt. Don't do it too fast, though, because they'll catch on to what's going on. I just kind of wanted to whet your appetite, but isn't this subject area pretty fun? My website is my name. It's janhargrave.com. janhargrave.com is my name. And I have a book table set out here. So that if you need any of the books, you can come get them. Let me do a little bit of the body language of the politicians. You want to be one of the politicians with me, honey? Okay, come on down. Who do you want to be? You want to be Hillary?
I'll be Hillary.
You be Hillary? You know what's interesting about Hillary? So we'll start off with Hillary first. Anything you noticed specifically about her? I like your colors, by the way.
Thank you very much. What do I notice about her?
She's well trained, though. She's pretty tough. She's pretty tough to read. Okay, and I didn't mean to put you on the spot. You can sit for a minute. I'll just tell you. I'll start off with Donald because he's more fun, okay, than Hillary. Okay, so with Donald, think about Donald's body language, which sometimes is kind of like, it's too intrusive. It's kind of, and it's too abrupt. So when Donald points at us, he doesn't point. We point like this. Donald points like this, with the thumb up, like he's shooting. You see, kind of like this. Every time he points, he does this. His body language is too abrupt. He does this big gesture here. You see that is a big steeple of confidence. He also tends to do this to us. When we do one of these with someone, we're like, do you approve with me? You're okay with me? When you do 2 of these towards someone, it typically says in other countries, you are a 0. So sometimes when he does it, he does this a little bit too much, like this. He could softly do some gestures. And also when he puts his hands like this. You see, he'll put his hands like this. I don't know why he's doing it, but all of his gestures are sharp. They're stern. They're abrupt. And, he'll often say, stop. Stop. I'm talking now. He does this. He would be pretty tough to have a conversation with, but he's doing well in the polls. I heard he just won several states. It would be pretty hard to negotiate with him and someone of another country is just what I'm finding. With his body language, he is super, super confident, but almost I don't think he could be tender. And sometimes we just want to see a little tender moment from someone. With Ted Cruz, now Ted doesn't do this. When he talks, he will do this. Don't ask me why he is doing this. He does this. You notice he does this. Either he is praying for something to happen is what I think it is. So he won't do this. He's never done this. He'll do this. Sometimes he'll play with the wedding band, and that's an insecurity gesture when someone does play with the wedding band while they're talking, because when you have to touch a piece of jewelry that is sentimental to you when you're speaking, it means at that time you're really nervous and you have to think of someone who brings you comfort. So when he gets really nervous, he'll end up doing this. Also, when he forms his sentences, he will say a sentence and then he stops for 5 seconds. He'll say a sentence and then he stops again for 5 seconds. His talking when he's lecturing is too much as though he's trying to win a case in the courtroom. He's a big, big time attorney. That's what I just find a little about him. With Hillary, let me just do a couple little things about Hillary. The advantage that Hillary has, and she is well trained, she and Bill are both trained in something that's called full body listening. When you are in their presence, you feel that no one else is in the room but you and her. And we teach a course in that at the university. It's that when she is there speaking with you, she is so into you that even if someone's pulling on her jacket here, she's never going to pay them any attention. She's like into you. So because of that, in her presence, she wins you over and wins you over each time. The advantage, though, that Hillary has is that she can use female gestures and male gestures at the same time. Because watch this. Males and females do communicate differently body language-wise. men tend to have bigger gestures, and their gestures go away from their bodies. A lady's gestures typically will come near her. But the advantage of us as ladies, we can use both when we need. When she needs to get powerful, her gestures are going to get big. When she needs to be demure, she'll even go into this stance. This is something that Prince William's wife does. That's not too much like Hillary, but if she needs to do this, she will come to this even stance here. As I watched her and I tried to watch for inconsistencies, the only two small things I could gather was this. When she would get really uncomfortable or someone would pounce upon her, she takes her left finger, pointer finger in this hand, and she'll just rub the two fingers together. You see what I'm doing here? She just does this slowly. It's either to comfort herself or it may have something to do with money. I'm not too sure which one. No, she'll kind of, because you know how we go like this, how we did it when we needed money like this. She goes kind of like this. And then the only time when she gets upset or nervous that you can ever see is that she's going to take her right pointer finger and she holds it with this hand here. You and I, if we get afraid or nervous, we can hold ourselves and it comforts us. But in front of a big stage that she is in, she can't do this. So this is her little way. So you notice when she gets nervous or someone is angry with her, she'll end up doing this gesture here. But I mean, she's very confident, and when she needs, she does have a tender side to her. I think that Ted Cruz, sometimes it's difficult to see, but he does have 2 children, so I know that there's a tender side to him. I'm just wondering with Donald if there's ever a side to him that's kind of tender. Then we have little Bernie Sanders. Poor Bernie, he's like this, taking over the microphone, and he has some dandruff on the left sleeve. I think he needs to take it off. And then we have John Kasich. John Kasich, I feel, is very honest, not worried about his body language, neither is but John's not going to get to the very end, and probably not Bernie either. But it's going to get tough, I think, when the final 2 get into the race and that they get upon each other. That's going to be a tough situation. But yeah, Donald's, notice he wears his ties too long. I think he does that because he thinks it's going to make him feel slender. You think he does that? Because his tie comes to about here, and then a man's tie is supposed to come about here, his comes to here. That'll be $25,000 for that extra piece of information. Did you have a good time? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're awesome.
You know I love you. Thank you so much. Oh, they're going to make me cry. Come see me during the day and I'll analyze your body language and handwriting.
Thank you so much, Ann. Thank you. Now, the hardest part of doing this job is coming up after her, because everything I do, I'm like, you know. So I'm going to be brief. Everybody have a good time this morning? Good time? All right. Well, we are ready to get started with our day. We got about 30 minutes. Check your voicemails, emails, grab some more breakfast, beverages. Our 2 sessions are going to be to my right in room 5, and the other one is to my left in room 9. And don't make me remember which is which, but just their signs out. A great morning, and we will look to seeing everyone back in here for the pitch contest at lunchtime. Thank you.